When you have to explain a joke, it usually means that the joke is just not that funny. But when you have to explain that something somebody said or wrote was actually meant to be serious, you know it's gonna be hilarious. Take, for example, former New York Times journalist David Kaufman. He recently wrote this blog post titled "The Unintentional Racism Found in Traffic Signals," which you would assume would be a parody, but upon further examining his Twitter feed and some of his interviews, he's serious. Washington, D.C.'s pro football team, the Redskins, Aunt Jemima pancake products, Eskimo pies, they're all examples of everyday racism that bombards people of color, from the supermarket to the playing field. They're also all iconic American products, and both corporations and consumers finally agreed are ready for a rebrand. He then says there are far more subtle instances that are no less deserving of cultural reckoning. He recounts recently approaching a crosswalk and having to wait for the signal that it was safe. This signal. He then realized, quote, "White people like to exert control over nearly everything everyone does. But since when did literally include trying to cross the street?" He recalled that when he was a kid, the traffic signals used words, walk or don't walk, not a picture of a white man. He goes on, and even ponders whether the Department of Transportation should ban such signals. In other news that seems too dumb to be true, this teacher believes that the idea that 2 plus 2 equals 4 is because of Western imperialism and colonization. After being widely mocked, she put her Twitter account on private, signifying that it wasn't a joke, and people looked her up on LinkedIn, and apparently she really is a teacher. Even funnier, 3 years earlier, the Babylon Bee, the parody news website, published this story mocking such an idea. But as you know, today it is impossible in many cases to distinguish something that a liberal actually believes from a parody. Oh, by the way, I do sell a beautiful 2 plus 2 equals 4 shirt from my online store at markdice.com. In other news that's 100% real, Scrabble the board game released a statement banning 236 different words that they say they will no longer accept as winning words because they hurt people's feelings. So if you play the game on your phone or your tablet and you try to spell any of those words, they will no longer count. The mayor of Melrose, Massachusetts, a city of about 30,000 people, took to Twitter to apologize for this traffic sign, which was set up to encourage drivers to slow down because it said, "The safety of all lives matter." Get it? You're only supposed to say Black Lives Matter. So he took to Twitter and said that he was just made aware of the following traffic sign being displayed on Main Street, and he ordered it to be taken down immediately. And he's taking steps to find out how this happened, and he apologizes to the residents. Meanwhile, a police officer in Oregon gave some Black Lives Matter protesters the OK sign because everything was okay with the protest, and now he's under investigation for making a you-know-what symbol. The same thing happened to this man, Emmanuel Cafferty, who is a Mexican-American who works for the San Diego Gas and Electric Company, after somebody spotted him at a stoplight cracking his knuckles, and they thought that he too was making the dreaded hand sign. Instead of laughing it off after the person tweeted the picture to SDG&E, they fired him.
When my supervisor said that I was being accused of doing a white gesture, that was baffling.
Cafferty is the man in the picture and says he had no idea what the symbol meant. He was just cracking his knuckles. And a few days later, he was fired.
And as I mentioned last week, various NBA teams are going to be painting Black Lives Matter onto the basketball courts when the season begins. And Mayor Bill de Blasio decided to paint a gigantic Black Lives Matter on the street right in front of Trump Tower. With everything going on in New York City, Mayor de Blasio thought he would waste his time trolling President Trump by painting graffiti in front of his building. I don't know if they're still doing it, but various video games, including Call of Duty and FIFA 20, the soccer game, were displaying Black Lives Matter messages while the game was loading. Fortnite decided to insert a Black Lives Matter roundtable discussion into the virtual world of the game that players would inevitably stumble across while playing. Many players obviously weren't happy, including this one, who happened to find some tomatoes nearby and threw them at the screen. This is the world we're living in when you can't even watch sports and kids can't even play video games without being inundated by Black Lives Matter. And to show solidarity, this is the new Batwoman for Season 2 in the series that airs on the CW network. I already told you in this video that I'm not joking, but I have to remind you because I know that you think I am. Also, The Wonder Years is coming back to TV. ABC is reportedly rebooting the show. If you're a Gen Xer like me, you probably recall, since there wasn't that much on TV if you didn't have cable, but they're gonna make one little change. Can you guess what it is? The family's gonna be black. What a surprise. They tried the same thing a few years ago with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but apparently the pilot was so bad that no network picked up the show. But I'm sure once Sarah Michelle Gellar gives the idea her stamp of approval, some network will put it on air. Because celebrities know what's best, which is why I sell the shirt at my online store at markdice.com. And don't forget, you can also get my 2 + 2 = 4 shirt or my new Cops Lives Matter shirt. All available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.